We've all come a long way for this. I've come up from Sydney and the cars have come all the way from Europe. And what can only be described as amusing irony, we have a British day for this most British of car companies. This is a Range Rover, and eagle-eyed viewers will know that that is the new second generation Range Rover Evoque. The first Evoque seemed like it had been with us since my grandma was a girl. And it's kind of true, in car terms it has, but finally we have all new engines, mild hybrids, and there's even a vegan interior.
The second generation Evoque is, to my eyes, even closer to the LRX concept from a decade ago. With flush door handles and the lovely crease down the flanks, it's even more stylish than its predecessor. Want to know how new the body is? Land Rover reckons the only leftover from the first gen Evoque are the door hinges, which I'm not showing you. The new car has a slightly longer wheelbase to deliver marginal improvements on interior space, as well as a metric tonne of new technology inside and out.
Of course, the car that you and I are most interested in is the P300. That's the 227 kilowatt or 300 horsepower Ingenium 2-litre turbo. It's a cracker of an engine, so I'm really looking forward to see how it handles both the off-road and the on-road stuff. Now, I've already driven one on-road and wow, it's got a lot of power. And it's also got a bit of mild hybrid. Now, well, I'm sure you're all going, burning the planet, greenies, polar bears, blah. It doesn't matter. It actually makes the car go faster. So we're going to talk about that as well.
Given this is a Range Rover, obviously we have to check out what it's like off-road. Now the car I'm driving now is the top spec P300, which is about 227 kilowatts or something like that. And quite a lot of torque from a 2-litre 4-cylinder. This is an impressive engine, and I've seen it in a few cars. It's very good. It's all across the JLR range. It's in F-types, it's in F-paces, it's in lots of stuff. It's a good engine. What it also has in this new Evoque is mild hybrid electricity. So, well, electricity isn't mild hybrid, the car is mild hybrid. Hanging off the front of the engine is it's like the Audi Q8's belt alternate system, but it's a little bit different. You jazz the battery, and then it can be redeployed back out into, well, basically the engine. So it uses the belt to torque fill, basically. So it's it's useful, and it also means that the stop-start is really smooth. Like, you don't get the kind of effect that you get in some stop-start cars. It just picks up really nicely, and it means it also cuts out earlier as you're coasting to a halt. So that's a nice piece of gear. I'm impressed with that. What else does it have? It's got a whole heap of new tech. So the further up the range you go, you get some funky new tech like the twin screen touch duo. You can get a rear vision camera that when you pull what you expect to be the it's nighttime and I'm being dazzled thing. If you pull that forward, it actually switches to a camera that's in the shark fin antenna, and you can basically see the people in the car behind you picking their nose. It's quite something. Not the actual intent of it, but it's a high definition camera, so it works really, really well in showing you what's behind you. So, new interior. It's really nice in here. You can have the basic grain leather. You can step up to a very nice Windsor leather. That is super, super soft. It's really lovely stuff. I think that makes a difference. Does it make a $4,000 difference? Up to you. You can also get a vegan interior, which is like made from Japanese eucalyptus trees, so you don't have to worry about any koala deforestation or anything like that. And it's a very it's interesting. I've spoken to a lot of people over the years and they do want that non-leather interior, but most of them have just been either cloth or worse, that kind of wetsuit material that Honda uses. So that seems like a really nice interior. One of the key things about this car is you've got more space. The rear seats, there's a lot more space in this car than the old car. It does feel a bit bigger, and I actually think it's reasonably larger, but it's not so much that you think, oh, it's a different car, or it doesn't feel as big as a Velar, for instance. So it's quite, still quite a small car, a good city car. So you can get a few engines, a few diesels. They've all got the mild hybrid, but only the P300 has the mild hybrid on it, because the other petrol engines require a petrol particulate filter, which our crap petrol would destroy. So we can't have that yet. I'm sure that's a bit of a watch this space moment, but that's what's going to happen. So we're starting out on a track here. Oh, look, you know, this is going to be very straightforward. It's not going to take us out on a track that it can't do, but it's going to be fun. So we're in auto. I'm not a four-wheel driver. And so we're just going through some big wombat holes there. The car really, it's good. It really copes with that stuff nicely. And, you know, like these are big holes and you'd expect the car to make a huge racket going over them, and it's not. Very impressive. We're just working our way around a bit of a track here. Think I've gone the right way? Yep. I get lost in my own house. So again, in auto, the car's just working it all out itself. So it's got terrain control 2, which is new to the Evoque. And so you can just press auto and let the car work it all out itself. So it's gonna know what kind of terrain I'm on, what it's doing to the car, lets the car sort it all out. This is where I go quiet because, as I said, I'm not very good at this. They're pretty brave letting me out on my own in this car, especially while I'm talking to you. And look, one of the things I love about Range Rovers, and it's pretty silly really, but you are going out and bashing around in some pretty tough terrain, you know, but you're doing it in this absolutely peerless luxury. You really are. And, you know, I'm quite taken with that concept. Because I don't do it very often, which is why I'm not very good at it. Yeah, I'm really taken with the concept that you can be so comfortable and in such a lovely environment out here in this very difficult terrain. It's such a competent machine that it can do this and do it with this idiot at the wheel. Now right now I've actually got one wheel off the deck, but I'm fine. I'm absolutely fine. And the car has just driven me round. No problem. And I don't know if I'm supposed to be here. Oh, here we go, up the hill. This is so easy. You just, oh. I could live at the end of a track like this, it's so easy. Wow, that's great. So, you know, this would be hellish in most cars. And like, we're not spinning wheels, we're not sliding around. The car is so composed there. Like, that was quite a tight uphill right-hander that should have been exceptionally difficult, but I managed it. You know what? The biggest problem I've got is this light in my eyes because it's really dark. And obviously, the weather I have today is completely different to the weather you see in the B-roll. That's okay. And the steering is just right. It's obviously not going to throw you around too much because you've got all that control. You've got all that control, and here I am just rolling down the hill. It knows that I'm going down a difficult, steep hill. I've got my feet off the pedals. This is easy. There we go, a bit more humpy bumpy stuff. This is great fun. Really good fun. And again, here we've got another tricky, it's off camber. I mean, everything's off camber in off-roaders, obviously. And it's no histrionics, it just drives up it. But, you know, I know this is normal, but it's really something. This is a city off-roader. That sounds ridiculous, of course, but this does the job. Like, I've driven some reasonably off-roadery stuff without getting too serious. Like, I haven't done Moab, and it's not something that I do for fun. But, you know, in this job, you do a little bit of off-roading, and that's some of the more difficult stuff I've done. All right, so I'm actually now driving into water, which is a weird feeling. Oh my goodness. And wow, that was really simple. Really, really simple. So I'm in a river, as you do. The vast majority of people who buy these cars, the only water they're going to drive through is the overflow from their water tank at home on the driveway. They're not going to be driving down a river. But this just did. They're not going to be going through wombat holes, but this just did. That's cool. And the capability's not intimidating. Like, sometimes these cars are all like, oh, you've got to plug in, you got to hit a thing, and you've got to press a button, and you've got to do all this nonsense. It just did it. I like that a lot. Stoked. That was so much fun. Oh dear. Nearly killed the blokes who were directing us, but yeah. All right, so today's been a bit helter-skelter. So I'm going to talk to you from a freeway. And I'm not going to talk to you for as long as I normally do, because there's a gentleman in the left-hand seat who doesn't need to hear all this nonsense. And really, you probably don't either. Anyway, so I'm in the P300. That's the car you're interested in. I've driven the P300 off-road. It's quite something. It's so torquey. You know, it used to be that if you wanted to get off-road, diesel was all you could have. But this is the business. Plenty of torque. The mild hybrid certainly helps. I mean, I don't know that, but with that extra torque fill and that extra control, it does feel like the mild hybrid is a good thing off-road. It's just a great pity that here in Australia, we can't have anything less than the P300 with the mild hybrid, because those engines are only produced with petrol particulate filters, and of course in Australia we have crap fuel which would destroy them. So that's a very niche and complex thing to talk about, but that's the reality. Now, out on the road, the Evoque is quite good. I mean, it's not a sports car. You could never accuse the Evoque of being a sports car, but it's a vast improvement on the old car, which itself was pretty good. It has grown. It's a bigger car. We're not going to beat around the bush on that. It's a much bigger car than the old one. A bit heavier, but it hasn't lost too much. The previous car wasn't very sharp. I did really like the 3-door of the previous car. That is sadly no longer a thing. That felt like an overgrown hot hatch, in much the same way that the Jaguar E-Pace P300, which is a distant relative of this, that feels like an overgrown hot hatch. That's not what this feeling is. What this has got is a really strong, capable engine that, yes, if you did want to whack into dynamic mode and have a bit of a hoon, you'll have a great time. Strong, and up or down hills, it really does pull. It's really, really good. It's a terrific engine. It's great in the F-Type. It's great in the F-Pace, and no doubt it's good in other Jags and Land Rovers that I've not yet driven. Would a red line viewer want an Evoque? I think so, because it's got that little bit extra that a lot of even premium SUVs don't have. It's got plenty of character. It looks amazing. I think this is a fantastic looking car, and I reckon it's more like the LRX than the first Evoque was. So the LRX is that concept that came out in 2009. Rob Melville, who designs McLarens now, as you do, designed that. And I reckon this is closer to the detailing. It's got those lovely flush door handles. It's got a bunch of cues that are just more like the LRX, because, you know, let's face it, production realities 10 years ago meant that doing funky stuff was harder than it is now. And of course, Land Rover's got a ton more money than they used to, because, you know, they've got owners who care about them. I said Jaguar, I meant Land Rover. So yeah, I reckon I reckon this is a red line car. If for no other reason, then it's got a fantastic interior. It's super comfortable. It does go, and it does corner, and you know, you can get some pretty big wheels on this thing. You can get 21s if you want, and they look amazing. And this is a car that'll turn heads, and I think sometimes that's not a bad thing. Oh, I'm making it worse. I'm actually making it worse. An old mate in this van who's just tried to take me on has lost. What's that? Oh, I just ran over something. Wow, just for a moment, here I am going, I rounded that dude up and thought I'd popped a tyre.